This is the Renegade Teacher blasting out with another transmission. If you can hear me, I have emerged once again from the dark side of the moon, ready to continue our journey through space on that search for rationality in public education. Folks, I am very excited to have you with me tonight. I want to go ahead and immediately kick off tonight's video with discussing a bit here about how many of the things that I speak about on my channel, there are exceptions to them, and I often forget to bring that up in the heat of a rant. It's frequently something I've noticed that happens frequently in my videos. I sometimes speak using hyperbole, and I think it's worth mentioning here at the beginning of the new week as we roll into a whole new set of challenges as we refocus on our mission. I felt it was necessary to state that usually when I get really fired up, sometimes I seem to claim that 100% of a group of people are doing something, or I make sometimes an overgeneralization. I'm usually, truthfully, referring to the majority, and again, there should always, in my rants, it should always be in the back of your head that I am aware of the unstated exceptions to what I'm talking about. I know there are a lot of great teachers and educators in the world, and I thank them for their service. And again, I just felt it was necessary to clarify before I move on to tonight's main topic. As I refocused for the week and tried to figure out where we would go, I decided to take a bit of a look away from some of the topics I've talked about recently and discuss discipline, the discipline crisis facing public education now, and really this is a quagmire of wretched nonsense when you look at how overwhelming the mandate is on teachers. Teachers are powerless now. It's quite unbelievable. Really, many districts that I've looked at and know colleagues that work for. There's no such thing anymore in most of these districts as teacher assigned after school detention. Teachers are incredibly stripped of their power. They can't even call on kids in class anymore for fear of parents and things of students becoming embarrassed of their reading abilities. When you stop and think about it, we have a situation where teachers can't even call on kids. We have such a broken, incredibly fractured, hopeless situation in front of us. There's no fear in a student's mind that they need to be paying attention because they may be called on. It's really quite sad. And again, other things too. When you look at things like the punishment for cheating on an exam in a lot of these schools, it's incredible. It's fascinating to me how many of the schools handle it in terms of only dealing out a punishment via the grade, as in giving a student a 0 for cheating, or the teacher is allowed to request disciplinary action. Apparently leaving the grade that they achieved by cheating intact. It's so asinine how this is set up in a lot of these schools. But when you really dig in, the thing that will blow you into another galaxy, the thing that will absolutely shake you to your core, is when you stop and look at how the discipline referral system works in a lot of these public schools now, how the burden of proof and the burden of documentation has been twisted and shifted in such a disgusting way onto the teachers. I challenge you to look up a discipline referral form for your child's school, or for some schools that any school. Look it up. I'll tell you what. I found you a few discipline referral forms that we are actually going to look at tonight, and I can't wait to share them with you. Keep in mind, though, as we look at these, that I have to be careful sometimes, because the intent of some of these things is so good, but the reality of the situation is apparently beyond the scope of visibility for some of these people, that when we try to fix these problems, it's gonna have to be done in such a way that we don't come across as overly insulting and trying to degrade the intent of what is here. However, when you look at this, strap in, because this is amazing. Again, I googled the simple phrase high school discipline referral form and found two absolute gems for you here. These are spectacular specimens of human ingenuity. I'm not going to disclose the schools necessarily. Well, one of them I'll just say is from Chicago Public Schools, but the other is from, I believe, an elementary school. But the first I'll look at here is the one from the elementary school. And folks, I mean, this is, upon opening this document, I immediately was brought to laughter. Just that the appearance of it is very much akin to something that you would be handed. Keep in mind that this is something that a teacher is expected to fill out for minor infractions, for things that an administrator needs to be aware of, but it may not rise to the level of expulsion. This is akin to something that you would be handed upon walking into a doctor's office for the first time, or perhaps a dentist office, or something like that. It literally looks like a medical form with a full-blown medical history. This is insane. It asked the teacher to provide all of this information, obvious stuff being name, the offense number, which is laughable, because if any teacher is filling out one of these forms and doing it correctly and doing it enough to be real and to try to actually be effective at discipline, it's insane to believe that they should be able to and have to track the number of times that students do these things. However, it asks for obviously the staff's name making the referral, but then it goes into the problem behavior sections. This is, again, it looks like a absolute medical history. It has this checklist that you can pick from, whether it was inappropriate language, physical contact, defiance, disruption, property misuse, homework. You got me on that one. Tardy or other. It has a major category saying abusive language, fighting or physical aggression, overt defiance, harassment/bullying, disruption, or other. This is incredible. This is the part that starts to get extremely bizarre. It asks for the teacher to begin to postulate, to try to guess the possible motivations for the misbehavior, listing the options of it being done to, quote, obtain peer attention, to obtain adult attention, to obtain items or activities, or to avoid peers, or to avoid an adult, or to avoid a task or activity, or to obtain an item, or I don't know, or other, or how about, what the hell is this form? incredible, folks. This is incredible. It has a section for a little tiny box here on the side for the administrator to make a decision about what to do about this situation. This poor teacher is trying to take time out of their day to describe. This is nauseating nonsense. Down below here, it says others involved in the incident. It asked if there was a substitute in the room, other comments. It asked for the principal's signature and has a place for the parent or guardian signature. And then it really gets out of hand here when you realize this is a 4-page document, and there are not only there's a follow-up agreement asking the student why they misbehaved, what did they want, and it lists all these options for them to pick from. It actually asked them if they got what they wanted. What will they do differently next time? I can tell you this. This is blowing me away. I cannot believe this is allowed to be pushed onto teachers. Why the person that wrote this document could not help with taking some of this ridiculous burden off of the backs of the people that are under fire with all of these tasks being pushed onto them. A lot of things we talk about on my channel, guys, if you've been along for the ride here so far, you know how incredibly nonsensical and unrealistic this is. We need to look at the Chicago Public Schools discipline referral form. This one, folks, this one could be enough to put me over the edge. I didn't read the whole thing. When I realized what was going on, I immediately stopped. So this may be somewhat of a excuse me, of a reaction. But again, it's labeled Chicago Public Schools. I was slightly relieved upon first glance that this is only a 2-page document. But it is something that you can tell is used for teachers to fill out, again, for minor infractions. It asked for the school name at the top of the paper, as if the person that typed this couldn't make a different version of this form with the name of the school at the top, so that the teachers could print out their school's discipline referral form and take away the necessity to write the school name on every discipline referral form that they fill out the entire school year. The principal's name on here as well, a line, as if teachers have time to be writing that information about a disciplinary event that's taking place. It asks for the date of the misbehavior. It asks for the time of the misbehavior, the location, who it's being reported by, what position in the building they have, as if I need that put on my plate when I'm attempting to document and report misbehavior in the classroom that needs to be stopped, that's already taking away time from the day of these educators, and this nonsense is being puked out onto them. This is inexcusable. It asks if it's the first, the second, the third, or the fourth occurrence. It asks for the student's name, the room number, if any injuries occurred, and then we really get to the meat of it. This is going to be incredible, I can tell. It says provide a comprehensive narrative of the problem, identifying others as student 1, student 2, etc., witness 1, witness 2, etc., may continue on reverse side if needed. This cannot be real. Folks, this right here, this is enough. This is enough to make me want to book a trip to Honduras and and pay for a ride on one of the banana boats on the beach, and puncture it mid-ride, causing a slow leak, whereby which me and a handful of tourists barely make it back to shore on a flaccid, elongated shard of synthetic giant banana. This is insanity. This makes as much sense as my banana boat plan. The teacher is being asked to provide a narrative written description of every incident worthy of a discipline referral. May continue on reverse side if needed. So I'm assuming there is a space on the reverse of this form. We'll look. The next section says, summary of background information and previous actions taken. We have to describe things we've already probably reported here through other forms, and if not, we're expected here. These teachers in the Chicago public schools have to give some history lesson to the administrator here on any previous actions taken, as if they don't have record of that already, or could request it if needed. This form has a place for the teacher to document contact with the parents, the phone number that was utilized, the result of that contact, and a staff signature with the time and date. One of the few things that makes sense. A whole little box down here at the bottom for the administrators to use that's about 1 inch tall. Oh, and here we are on the reverse side, the page 2, where we should have some lines to elaborate on our narrative, comprehensive response from above. And it is a 3-paragraph letter to administrators, teachers, and staff. This is insane, folks. It is. We don't even have a reverse of the form. I immediately can tell this part I will read. It says the form should be used when students engage in minor, inappropriate misconduct, which may not rise to the level of violation of the SCC. Since early intervention is key to reducing the number of disciplinary events, administrators should mail a copy of this form to parents to inform them of patterns of minor acts of misconduct before they become violations of the SCC. It says, folks, this is the end. This is very similar to a lot of the forms that we see in all of our school districts. This is unacceptable, unbelievable. This should be illegal. This should straight up be illegal for teachers to be treated as if they are patients walking into a medical facility for the first time, seeking care of a doctor, and for them to be put under that level of paperwork for individual disciplinary referrals should be something that people should be being fired over. It's incredible. This is disgusting. I would like to see a scientific quantification of how much time it would take to do just a few referrals per day, a lowball estimate. And if you think about it, we could do that. We could do that now. In our heads, if we were to do, for example, 5 referrals per day, which for some teachers may be a lot, for other teachers may not be nearly enough to cover their daily situation. But I can't see any possible way how someone could complete one of these forms in less than 5 minutes each. We'll just say 4 days a week. 5 referrals, 4 days a week. We're looking at 100 minutes. 100 minutes spent filling out referrals. That's excluding time that would be needed for tracking the offense numbers and submitting these things to administrators. This is insane. Unsustainable insanity. Discipline is in crisis in schools. Smartphones are quote-unquote banned, but the reality of the classrooms, many of them, they are not banned. There are some positives of smartphones in classrooms, but we have this mixed message, this inconsistent enforcement of rules. There's a lot of hypocrisy. You see this trend of the hip teachers utilizing them in their classroom, whether it be effectively or ineffectively. It is in stark contrast to the message from administration in many cases, and it's simply the whole system, the referral system, the policy, the enforcement. It's all a complete mess. The students know it. The teachers know it. It's so obvious and so disgusting. I don't know if I can make it out of this without the cuff. It's not something that will work, folks. I'm sorry. Again, many of us are jumping through the hoops. It's such a sad situation. We have to find effective ways for teachers to accomplish the positives that come from appropriate documentation and proof and fairness, but it cannot be done with paper forms. It cannot be done in a way that insults the professionals that need to be dedicating their time to performing the most important part of their job, which is being face to face with their students, and causing and again mentoring those students, allowing them to prosper in terms of developing so many important skills. This kind of nonsense, this excessive paperwork takes away from. Folks, I'm extremely glad. I'm very excited to be back in range this week. I am going to go ahead and wrap up the rant for tonight. I would like to encourage you to support the channel. This is a new channel. Officially become a renegade. Hit the subscribe button, like the video. This is a good, healthy exercise in honesty, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. Welcome back this week. Try to stay positive, but also stay honest. Stay real with yourself, and stay safe. And until next time, this is the Renegade Teacher checking out.